I knew something was wrong when a little pretty white girl ran to a black man's arms.
Girl number 10. Old Faithful Aussie Girl. Rating, 5.5 out of 10. Date, October 2000. Age, 33. Height, 5 feet 2 inches. Weight, 130 pounds. Hair, brunette. Eyes, unknown. She was the oldest girl that I had humped up to that point. I believe she was like 33 or something. A fossil. We met online in one of the MSN City chatrooms, in October 2000. I started going to MSN chatrooms and using MSN Messenger. I would talk to girls in chat and then ask them to move over to Messenger. This became my normal routine. After I had them on Messenger, it was pretty much all over. She lived in some ridiculously named Canadian town that I can only remember as calling Port Shitfuckland. She thought my name for her town was funny, so I kept using it. She was originally from New Zealand and had moved to Canada, got married, had a few kids, and was now divorced, or about to be. We went from chat, Messenger, then to the phone. I always tried to move fast, so I wasn't wasting my time talking with them. We spoke on the phone once. She had a sexy voice. Of course, all of us male Americans love the accents. We talked maybe 30 minutes and she was ready for me to go pick her up. We figured it all out and we decided I would make the drive up on the coming Saturday. I was so happy that I was going to fuck Nicole Kidman, if only in my imagination. It was now Saturday and I was on the road about noon. The drive would be 3 to 4 hours depending on the border. I drove across with no issues. Being a decent white guy, we have no problem. They're not looking for me. So, I read the directions she had given me and hoped for the best. I found her house and she came out to greet me. "Where's Nicole?" I asked under my breath. I had seen a somewhat blurry photo of her, so I wasn't expecting much. Not much is what I got. Oh well, I told myself, she has to have a pussy. With that, we headed back to the border. Of course it would take us an hour to get into the USA. She was a New Zealander in Canada with a work permit, traveling into the USA. She had to go inside the customs building to figure it all out. I waited in the car. I actually thought about leaving. I could make it back in time to meet up with my friends and look for real women in the clubs. But then I remembered she probably had a pussy and it was going to be handed to me on a silver platter. I waited and waited. She finally came back to the car. We went over the border and started the long journey to my home. She babbled the whole way and I listened to her without my ears. I just closed my eyes and imagined a young Nicole Kidman saying these things to me. Then I realized I was driving and closing my eyes probably isn't such a good idea. On the way back, my friend called me and said he wanted to meet her. I had told him about my online adventures with these girls, and he wanted to see what one looked like. Being a little embarrassed, I hesitated, but decided maybe I could pawn her off on him after I was done with her. He then would have to make the trip back to take her home. But that wasn't going to happen. He is married and he doesn't cheat. I was stuck with her. We stopped by some bar to hang out with him for a while. He kept calling her the Aussie, so the name stuck. A total disregard to the fact that she wasn't Australian. But, who cares? She wasn't going to be able to argue that point with my dick in her mouth. We stood at the bar and they drank. My friend was smirking at me the whole time in some goofy way. And she had the nerve to stand there, dressed in stupid mom slacks and a blouse. As if she was somebody's mother. How dare her wear this ridiculous clothing around me? Doesn't she know I have already tolerated an onslaught of silver pants these past weeks? After surviving about 30 minutes of her answering my friend's questions with answers I have already heard before, I said it was time to go. I at least wanted to bust a few nuts for all of my work and driving. I think we ate somewhere, I don't remember that part. After the dinner, we arrived at my house in a land far away. I think it was like 45 seconds and she already made a straight line for my bed. She hopped on the bed and started talking. I stopped her and said, "If you want to fuck, you are going to have to shut up." We took off those clothes of hers, thank goodness. Then there was bad kissing, sagging boobs, and a hairy crotch. Yes, just as I expected. Why would she shave? I assumed she wasn't used to shaving because they didn't have razors back when she was born. At least she had a pussy. I fucked her a little bit, and then I told her it was shower time. She waddled to the shower. I have to clean these girls up or I just don't feel like I can enjoy it. I lathered her up, down, and all around. I make them think I am rubbing them and fingering them. Really I am just cleaning out the crevices. I figure if I do it myself, it will all be okay. I wrangled her back to the bed. Looking at her, all I could think was how old she was. I didn't want to have a big make-out session with my mother, so I just went down on her instead. I would call that mistake number 2. Mistake number 1, being of course driving up to fucking Canada to pick up grandma from her senior home and bringing her to my house. So, I'm working on her with my hands and mouth, and she is writhing in delight. And then it happened. It was like Mike Tyson knocking me out with the 1-2 punch back when he was at his prime. She yells out in her best New Zealandic non-Nicole Kidmanish fake Australian accent, "Oh, my eye, gward." This was followed by what I can only describe as the most obscene thing that has ever happened to me. She squirted. But it wasn't just squirting. It was a hosing. I'm assuming that everyone who is anyone has been to a carnival. You know the game where you have the water gun and you spray the water into the clown's mouth? And then the balloon inflates until it pops? Yes. That was me. I was the clown. So, I'm lying there, licking, sucking, fingering, and rubbing. Just doing my job. Then Nicole Tyson sends gallons, or liters for our Canadian friends, into my face again. As I lay there staring into her vast vagina in disbelief, she yells again, "Oh, my eye, gward." More spraying. I didn't fucking deserve this. It was like someone vomiting non-stop. It kept coming. Literally. I give up. My bed and face were soaked. I slowly kept up the fingering as she yelled many more times as she squirted all around my room like a whipping sprinkler. I had enough. I sat up and corked the bitch. I started fucking her real hard, which only antagonized her pussy. It just fought back. It was like I was riding Old Faithful, the famous geyser at Yellowstone National Park. After we finished, I ran to a faraway corner, stuck my thumb in my mouth, and rocked back and forth. Actually, I left to the bathroom after making her swallow every drop of what I was giving. She came into the bathroom and went into the shower again. I said, "Good idea." I washed off as well. I scolded her and told her that she was a lethal weapon and she should warn people ahead of time. The night went on and yes, I fucked the 8th wonder of the world again. This time I asked her to warn me before she shot at me. The next morning I told her that I had many things to do. We started up to Canada in the morning. I didn't want to be around her anymore, so I didn't even suggest breakfast. She started whining about being hungry around noon, so I stopped at a Jack in the Box and we ate quickly. Getting her back over the border was easy and so was my way back home. I did the ignore her for a week or two thing. I eventually unblocked her from my MSN Messenger and asked how she was doing and made small talk. After our conversation, I deleted her and never talked to that thing again. I think I took a week off of women after the ordeal. I still have the scars today. She is the only woman that I have ever fucked where I cannot remember her real first or last name at all. Thanks for watching and listening, you magnificent bastards. Please subscribe and click on notifications. You will be watching and hearing each one of my sex stories, so you won't want to miss any. In the future the stories will become animated and not as basic. When that happens, each story will be redone and posted in order. But for now, please enjoy.
Yeah, give away. Yeah, give away. My neighbor got big testicles, cause we see this dude every day.